Good morning. Hello folks. I spent most of last year with my head buried in older science fiction, trying to colour in some of the blank spots in my reading record, and I wasn't really paying much attention to what got published last year, so I really don't know what was good science fiction that was published last year that I might be missing out on, with one exception. So let's do a bit of catching up. I'm going to piggyback on the good citizens of Goodreads who recently participated in a poll, some of them anyway, to vote for the best science fiction published in 2023. So let's see if I agree whether it's even science fiction and if any of them sound like they might be something that I want to read. So let's go. At number 10 is Children of Memory by Adjei and Tchaikovsky, and I have actually read this one, and in fact I put it at a similar position in my top 10 books that I read of last year. It was at number 9 or number 10, I think. I quite liked it. It wasn't the strongest of the three, I don't think. So let's see what it says on the back here. A modern classic of space opera, it says. I'm not convinced it's space opera. Science fiction, obviously, but space opera? Don't think so. I do think that those two terms get conflated now. Pretty much everything that's published in science fiction is considered to be space opera these days, even if it isn't. But anyway, the modern classic of space opera, maybe, that began with Children of Time continues in this extraordinary novel of humanity's battle for survival on a terraformed planet. Refugees from Earth wake from cold storage on board the Ark ship Enkidu to find that they've arrived at the empty planet Ymir, which they hope to transform into a new home. Much of the story centres on Liv, the first child to be born on Ymir, and she is a witness to the colony's struggle and its decline. Colony life, never easy, becomes much harder when irreplaceable tools and technology breaks down and there are crop failures. Paranoia grows as rumours about enemy spies take hold. But they are not just rumours. They are indeed being watched. And as the viewpoint shifts to that of the watchers, there are more revelations to come. Even as we get the bigger picture, the mysteries increase. Liv is too young to have all the memories that she does. There were no birds among the creatures that were brought from Earth, so where did the two talking ravens come from? I think this was the weakest of the three in the series, and it had an annoying structure which really began to drive me nuts in the second half, and it was just saved in time, where I was relieved to be put out of my misery as the mystery began to be sort of resolved. So whilst I was a bit annoyed by that, I did enjoy it overall, and but just less than the other two. I think the first one is really good, the second one's pretty good, and the third one's kind of okay. So that's number 10. So that is definitely science fiction. I have read it, and if I hadn't read it, I at least knew about it. So I feel like that's a win. At number 9 is a book called The Future by Naomi Alderman, with 15,123 votes. Now, she is the author of The Power, which was recently made into a TV series. I think I've read that, which I haven't watched. I think I've read the Power, and it was okay. But in this one, from the blurb here, we've got the future, as the richest people on the planet have discovered, is where the money is. The future is a few billionaires leading the world to destruction while safeguarding their own survival with secret, lavish bunkers, which is a thing. They really do that. I know a couple of them have pretty impressive bunkers in New Zealand. I think their challenge is going to be not having somewhere safe to go, it's getting there if the balloon goes up. But anyway, the future is private weather, technological prophecy, and highly deniable weapons. The future is a handful of friends, the daughter of a cult leader, a non-binary hacker, an ousted Silicon Valley visionary, and the concerned wife of a dangerous CEO, and an internet-famous survivalist, hatching a daring plan. It could be the greatest heist ever, or the cataclysmic end of civilization. The future is what you see if you don't look behind you. The future is the only reason to do anything, the object of desire. And the future is here, apparently. So, can't say it grabs me from the description. And according to one review that I read, the future misses the mark and isn't very polished and is not as good as The Power, which was her previous bestseller. So I am not in a hurry to read this. I suppose if I find it in the wild, this is probably true for any of these, if I find it in the wild for like £1.50 or something, then I'll just buy it, why not? But I'm certainly not going to go out of my way, and I'm certainly not spending £20 on a hardback for the privilege of reading it. At number 8 is The Ferryman by Justin Cronin with 17,140 votes. He's the author of The Passage, which is a trilogy that I think I've heard of but haven't read, which gets good reviews. It's kind of post-apocalyptic zombie vampire sort of gig. But having read a little bit up on that, as I discovered that he wrote it when I was looking at The Ferryman, I want to read that much more than I want to read The Ferryman, I think. Anyway, back to The Ferryman. So this is a dystopia of sorts. Founded by a mysterious genius, he was probably gasping for a coffee as well. Founded by a mysterious genius, the archipelago of Prospera lies hidden from the horrors of a deteriorating outside world. In the island paradise, Prospera's lucky citizens enjoy long, fulfilling lives until the monitors embedded in their forearms, meant to measure their physical and psychological health, fall below 10%. So it feels like there's like a Logan's Run type thing going on there, but I think much older than Logan's Run. Then they retire themselves, embarking on a ferry ride to the island known as the Nursery, where their failing bodies are renewed, their memories are wiped clean, and they're ready to start life afresh. So something reincarnating going on, something like that. Proctor Bennett of the Department of Social Contracts has a satisfying career as a ferryman, gently shepherding people through the retirement process, and, when necessary, enforcing it. But all is not well with Proctor. For one thing, he's been dreaming, which is not supposed to be possible in Prospera. And for another, his monitor percentage has begun to drop alarmingly fast. And then comes the day he's summoned to retire his own father, who gives him a disturbing and cryptic message before being wrestled onto the ferry. "The world is not the world," he said, "and you are not you." So there's something funny going on there. Meanwhile, something is stirring. The support staff, ordinary men and women who provide the labour to keep Prospera running, have begun to question their place in the social order. Unrest is building, and there are rumours spreading of a resistance group known as the Arrivalists, who may be fomenting revolution. Soon, Proctor finds himself questioning everything he once believed, entangled with a much bigger cause than he realised, and on a desperate mission to uncover the truth. So looking at a couple of reviews, it seems to be like a dystopian detective tale with Proctor playing the gumshoe. There are twists and turns, apparently, and the writing is allegedly pretty good. So I actually do like the sound of it, as well as of The Passage. I'd like to read it. Have you read it? And this goes for any of these books, actually. If you've read them and you thought that they were good, do let me know, particularly if it's one that doesn't sound like it appeals to me, and perhaps I've done it a disservice. But do let me know if you've read The Ferryman. So at number 7 is The Light Pirate by Lily Brooks-Dalton, which has 18,660 votes. I'm going to have to check that the microphone's switched on now. Apparently it is. We're all good. So The Light Pirate by Lily Brooks-Dalton, so that's both a book and an author that I don't know anything about. So she had 18,660 votes. So this is climate fiction, or Sci-Fi, of which there's going to be an increasing amount, I think, over the next few years, because it's you don't need to speculate too wildly to get to climate fiction stories, do you? It's kind of happening around us. So in this book, Florida is slipping away as devastating weather patterns and rising sea levels gradually wreak havoc on the state's infrastructure. A powerful hurricane approaches a small town on the southeastern coast. Kirby Lowe, an electrical line worker, his pregnant wife Frida, and their 2 sons, Flip and Lucas, prepare for the worst. When the boys go missing just before the hurricane hits, Kirby heads out into the high winds to search for them. Left alone, Frida goes into premature labour and gives birth to an unusual child, Wanda, whom she names after the catastrophic storm that ushers her into a society that's closer than ever to collapse. As Florida continues to unravel, Wanda grows, moving from childhood to adulthood, adapting not only to the changing landscape, but also to the people who stay behind in a place abandoned by civilization. Wanda loses family, gains community, and ultimately seeks adventure, love, and purpose in a place remade by nature. So it's apparently told in 4 parts: power, water, light, and time. The Light Pirate mirrors the rhythms of the elements and the sometimes quick, sometimes slow dissolution of the world as we know it. It's a meditation on the changes we would rather not see, the future we would rather not greet, and a callback to the beauty and the violence of an untamable wilderness. So that has a little bit of, obviously there's a whole kind of post-catastrophe going on there, which is always interesting, and it sounds a little bit like, I want to say Annihilation. There's no kind of weird kind of alien stuff going on there, I suppose, but there is this sort of transformed landscape and an unfamiliar feel to it, which perhaps this has as well. I don't know. So I'm not 100% convinced by that book. I do quite like a post-catastrophe thing, and quite interested in the whole climate speculative climate change fiction. I think it's quite interesting. I'm not sure I'd rush out to buy it though, but I think if I see it in the wild, I'll definitely buy it. Number 6 is Chain Gang All Stars by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. I probably totally mangled that. Apologies if that's important to you. And this one with 25,843 votes. So this is about a kind of near future, not terribly difficult to imagine world in which corporate kind of privately run prisons are competing with each other. So they have gladiators essentially chosen from among the inmate population who fight each other, and this is entertainment. It's on TV. So 2 top female gladiators fight for their freedom within a depraved private prison system not so far removed from America's own. Loretta Thurwar and Hamara Hurricane Stacker are the stars of the Chain Gang All-Stars, at the cornerstone of CAPE, or the Criminal Action Penal Entertainment Network, a highly popular, highly controversial profit-raising program in America's increasingly dominant private prison industry. It's the return of the gladiators, and prisoners are competing for the ultimate prize, of course, their freedom. In CAPE, prisoners travel as links in chain gangs, competing in death matches for packed arenas with righteous protesters at the gates. Thurwar and Stax, both teammates and lovers, are the fan favourites, and if all goes well, Thurwar will be free in just a few matches, so she's gone through 2 or 3 years of this and survived to tell the tale. As she prepares to leave her fellow links, she considers how she might help preserve their humanity in defiance of these so-called games, but CAPE's corporate owners will stop at nothing, of course, to protect their status quo, and the obstacles that lay in Thurwar's path have devastating consequences. Moving from the links in the field to the protesters to the CAPE employees and beyond, Chain Gang All-Stars is a kaleidoscopic, excoriating look at the American prison system's unholy alliance of systemic racism, unchecked capitalism and mass incarceration, and a clear-eyed reckoning with what freedom in this country really means. This sounds to me like Hunger Games meets Battle Royale meets, I don't know, the Gladiators game show. Obviously it's more political than that. As it says, it's a commentary on the current state of the prison system in the US. I suppose the worrying thing is it doesn't seem too far removed. I don't know. It's I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure if it would appeal to me. It might feel a bit voyeuristic to be reading that and to be sort of enjoying the gladiatorial fights. I suppose he wants to put us in the position, or he or she wants to put us in the position of being in the audience of these things, and getting the thrill of that, as well as perhaps the guilt. Anyway, I don't know, so I'm a bit torn. I quite like the sound of it, but probably not enough to to put my hand in my wallet and go and buy it full price in hardback. So again, if I see it in the wild, I'll read it. Apparently it's pretty weighty, pretty lots of there's a lot of plot going on, and a lot of, I don't know about politics exactly, but a lot of behind the scenes fun and games, and it's quite a complex book. Maybe I'm talking myself into it. Maybe I would like to read it. I don't know. If you read it, let me know. I don't know whether it's really science fiction. It's certainly speculative. It's certainly kind of fast forwarding a little bit. Maybe that's all that it needs in order to be science fiction. Maybe it's really literary fiction with a science fiction kind of patina. I don't know. So number 5 is something I would recognise as science fiction, is System Collapse by Martha Wells with 25,942 votes. So that's the continuation. I think it's the 6th maybe book in the Murderbot series. So from the back of the book it says, am I making it worse? I think I'm making it worse. Everyone's favourite lethal sec unit is back. Following the events in Network Effect, so this continues in a matter of minutes from the previous book apparently. The Barish, so following the events in Network Effect, the Barish Astranza Corporation has sent rescue ships to a newly colonised planet in peril, as well as additional sec units. But if there's an ethical corporation out there, Murderbot has yet to find it. And if Barish Astranza can't have the planet, they'll sure as hell not leave without something. And if that something happens to be an entire colony of humans, well, a free workforce is a decent runner-up prize. But there's something wrong with Murderbot. It isn't running within normal operational parameters. Was it ever? ART's crew and the humans from Preservation are doing everything that they can to protect the colonists, but with Barish Astranza's sec unit heavy persuasion teams, nice name, they're going to have to hope that Murderbot figures out what's wrong with itself and fast. Yeah, this plan is not going to work. So I've only read the first Murderbot novella, which All Systems Red, is it? And I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was a nice kind of palate cleanser between books. You can read it in one sitting. It's not difficult, and it's quite short. It doesn't make sense to jump from there to this book. I'd need to read the ones in the middle. I certainly need to read the one before it, I think. So I would definitely want to read it, but I'm not in any rush to get it. I will gradually accumulate them over time, and I'll get to it eventually. So number 4 is The Marriage Act by John Mars, not to be confused with Johnny Marr, the guitarist from the Smiths. So John Mars. This one had 26,052 votes. And in this one, it's a little bit more down to earth. It's What If Marriage Was the Law? Dare You Disobey? So this is a British book set in the UK. Britain in the near future. Again, this isn't too difficult to imagine. A right-wing government believes it has the answer to society's ills. The Sanctity of Marriage Act, which actively encourages marriage as the norm, punishing those who choose to remain single. Before couples are about to discover just how impossible relationships... That's gone cold. Yes, so but before couples are about to discover just how impossible relationships can be when the government is monitoring every aspect of our personal lives, monitoring every word, every minor disagreement, and will use every tool in its arsenal to ensure that everyone will love, honour and obey. Smart marriage is a thing in this near future tale. Couples who sign up for it get tax breaks, better communities and other nice things, and people who don't are second-class citizens. This sounds to me like a kind of cautionary tale straight out of a Black Mirror episode maybe, and about the perils of an overbearing government, the risks of AI interfering in our lives. It doesn't grab me straight off the bat. If someone gave it to me, I wouldn't kick it off my shelves for farting, but I'm not convinced. I'm not going to rush out and buy it. Again, if I see it in the future for £2 or something as a paperback, then I will remember it, I think, and grab it. And number 3 is Start a Villain by John Scalzi with 31,102 votes. So inheriting your uncle's supervillain business is more complicated than you might think, particularly when you discover who's running the place. Just by the way, I'm a bit confused by this book because as you can see here, it's got a cat in a suit on the front. So I wasn't sure if this was like an animal, like Watership Down type thing with animals playing all the key roles, or if it's really people with the occasional cat. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe I'll get the answer to this in a second here. Look, so Charlie's life is going nowhere fast. A divorced substitute teacher living with his cat. Okay, so there's a human and a cat in a house his siblings want to sell. All he wants is to open a pub downtown. If only the bank will approve his loan. Then his long-lost uncle Jake dies and leaves his supervillain business complete with a James Bond island volcano lair to Charlie. But becoming a supervillain isn't all giant laser death rays and lava pits. Jake had enemies and now they're coming after Charlie. His uncle might have been a stand-up, old-fashioned kind of villain, but these are the real thing. Rich, soulless predators backed by multinational corporations and venture capital. It's up to Charlie to win the war his uncle started against a league of supervillains. But with unionised dolphins, hyper-intelligent talking spy cats, of course, and a terrifying hench person at his side, going bad is starting to look pretty good. In a dog-eat-dog world, be a cat. So it sounds kind of fun, although I did read a couple of reviews that said it wasn't his strongest work. So it seems like it might be kind of fairly light and fluffy, like the cat. So again, not one I'm going to rush it out to get hold of, but if I do see it, I'll buy it. Why not? I think I've got several John Scalzi books, but I've only read Old Man's War, and that was a while back. And I remember that was quite light in tone. So if this is light and fluffy, then it must be super light and fluffy. And number 2, Lightbringer by Pierce Brown, and this has way more votes than number 3 plays. So number 3, let's just remind ourselves. Number 3 had 31,000 and something, and number 2 has nearly 50,000, 48,836 votes. So this is, I think it's book 6 in the Red Rising series, which I am guilty of not having read any of. But anyway, so this book, so Darrow returns as Pierce Brown's New York Times best-selling Red Rising series continues in a thrilling sequel to Dark Age. The measure of the man is not the fear he sows in his enemies, it is the hope that he gives his friends. And this is somebody, Virginia O. Augustus. The Reaper is a legend, more myth than man, the saviour of worlds, the leader of the rising, the breaker of chains. But the Reaper is also Darrow, born of the red soil of Mars, a husband, a father, a friend. The worlds once needed the Reaper, but now they need Darrow, because after the Dark Age will come a new age of light, a victory of hope. I feel quite roused, not aroused, don't be disgusting, roused by that. I'm late to the Red Rising party. As I say, I haven't read any of them, but I gather I'm missing out. I think the first one is not all that strong, but they get better and better apparently. So I think I will get to Lightbringer at some stage, but I need to read the other 5 first, and I don't have them, so there's no point in me buying book 6 or whatever it is at this stage. I did notice that you can buy, in fact I think it's on my wish list, you can buy a set of the first 5 in paperback for like 20 quid or something, which seems like pretty good value. So once my book buying moratorium is over, maybe I'll indulge myself and get that. So at number 1 then is In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune with 57,535 votes. And this is like a retelling, I think, of the Pinocchio tale, from what I gather. So in a strange little home built into the branches of a grove of trees live 3 robots. Fatherly inventor android Giovanni Lawson, a pleasantly sadistic nurse machine, and a small vacuum cleaner desperate for love and attention. Victor Lawson, a human, lives there too. They're a family, hidden and safe. The day Vic salvages and repairs an unfamiliar android labelled HAP, H-A-P, he learns of a shared dark past between HAP and Geo, a past spent hunting humans. When HAP unwittingly alerts robots from Geo's former life to their whereabouts, the family is no longer hidden and safe. Geo is captured and taken back to his old lab in a city of electric dreams. And so together, the rest of Vic's assembled family must journey across an unforgiving and otherworldly country to rescue Geo from decommission or worse, reprogramming. Along the way to save Geo, amid conflicting feelings of betrayal and affection for Hap, Vic must decide for himself. Can he accept love with strings attached? So like I say, science fiction Pinocchio is the vibe that I'm getting from the blurb, and it's set in a grim sounding world beyond the point where androids have sort of taken over, and where humans are rare and hunted down. But also apparently suffused with love, hope, and a bit of heartache. So colour me intrigued. I think I'd like to read that, I must say. So I might actually buy it. I do like the sound of it. Again, if you've read that, let me know. I'd be interested to know if you agree with its number 1 position in this list. It's certainly science fiction, undeniably science fiction, I think, so that's good. One thing I did notice as I was running through this is that there's a bit of a discrepancy between the votes that a book got and its rating. So, you know, if you're familiar with Goodreads, each book gets a kind of average rating based on how many stars people have given it. And these are all, give or take, around the 4-star mark on average. But actually, if you reorder that list of 10 by its rating, some of the positions don't change, but several of them do, and some of them quite dramatically. So if I reorder the list in order of its rating, then you get at number 10 is The Marriage Act. That had an average 3.86 rating. At number 9, The Future, which is where same position, 3.9. And number 8 is The Ferryman, same position, 3.95. Number 7 is the book that was number 1 that we just spoke about, In the Lives of Puppets. That was a 3.97 rating. At number 6, previously number 10, is Children of Memory with a 4.05 rating. Number 5 was previously number 7, The Light Pirate. That's got a 4.06. And then number 4 was number 6 is Chain Gang All Stars, the Gladiator prison thing. That's 4.15. And number 3 was previously number 5 is System Collapse, 4.26. And at number 2, previously number 3, so these haven't changed much, is Starter Villain with a 4.26. And then the runaway leader was previously number 2 is Lightbringer, and that's got a rating of 4.75. So there's a lot of people have given that book 5 stars. Lots of fans of the Red Rising series out there, it seems. So that's quite interesting. It's quite a big difference there. And interestingly, the top 3 are all ones that I would immediately recognise as science fiction, and the others are maybe have a tinge of speculative fiction about them, as we say. So have you read any of these books? What did you think of them? Are there any that I should ignore what I initially thought and rush out and buy? Is there a science fiction classic in there that I'm missing out on? Do let me know in the comments. I'd be interested to hear from you as always. Thank you for watching, and until next time, goodbye for now.